We all think we have a pretty good handle on the difference between being wise and, well, being paranoid. But what happens when that line gets a little blurry? Today, we're going to break down a timeless story, but we're looking at it as a fascinating case study in human psychology. It's a tale about a man who had all the wisdom in the world, except for the one piece that really, truly mattered. This is the story of the foolish sage. But before we even meet him, I want to start with a question that's right at the heart of his story, and maybe ours too. What is the difference between wisdom and paranoia? Seriously, think about it. At what point does being careful turn into a crippling inability to trust? That's the tightrope our main character is walking, and as we're about to see, one little misstep can change everything. Okay, so let's meet this guy. He's an eminent sage, super respected, the kind of person people travel for miles just to get a little bit of advice from. But here's the thing. He's living a complete contradiction, a huge paradox that basically defines his whole life, and, ultimately, leads to his downfall. And this really breaks it down for you. On the one hand, you've got his public image, this wise, serene, spiritual leader. But then, on the other hand, there's the private reality. This guy trusts no one. He's hoarding money and he never lets it out of his sight. This isn't just a little hypocrisy, it's a huge strategic weakness. His obsession with his money, which comes from his total lack of trust, actually creates the very vulnerability he's trying to avoid. It's like he built a fortress around himself but left the key hanging right on the front door. And this, right here, is his fatal flaw. For a man who trusts absolutely no one, he puts all his energy and fear into one single thing, this pouch of money. By clutching it so tightly, he thinks he's keeping it safe. But what he's really doing is sending out a signal. He's putting a giant flashing spotlight on his one and only weak spot. And whenever there's a vulnerability like that, there's always someone waiting to take advantage of it. So, enter our antagonist. But we're not talking about some common thief here. Oh no, this guy is a strategist. He's a student of human nature. He gets that the best way to get past a wall of distrust isn't to try and knock it down, but to get a personal invitation to just walk right inside. So check out his approach. It's so methodical, a classic long con. He breaks it down into 4 very patient steps. First, the disguise. He pretends to be this humble, dedicated student. Second, he infiltrates, getting himself accepted into the sage's temple. Third, he serves. He makes himself completely indispensable, doing all the chores. And then, the hardest part of all, he just waits. He's playing the long game because he knows patience is his most powerful weapon. This brings us to the real core of the deception. Because in this story, trust wasn't earned in a normal way. It was meticulously, carefully manufactured. The thief's entire plan depended on creating a sense of security in the most insecure person you could possibly imagine. And how'd he do it? Through just sheer, unwavering diligence. By becoming the perfect student, by taking on every single chore without a single complaint. He wasn't just being helpful, he was weaving himself into the very fabric of the sage's life. Every floor he swept, every cup of tea he served, it was all just another thread in this intricate web of trust he was building. And this is where it gets really ironic. The sage, a man whose entire life philosophy was built on trusting absolutely no one, creates a single exception. He lets one person into his fortress of paranoia. And of course, it's the very person who came there to tear the whole thing down from the inside. The trap is now officially set. So the stage is set for the climax. And it all goes down on what seems like a totally ordinary day. The sage and his disciple get invited to a nearby village. On the way, they stop at a river. And it's right here in this quiet, normal moment that years and years of caution are completely undone by a single moment of total blindness. Everything, the sage's lifelong paranoia, the thief's incredible patience, it has all been leading to this. One single fatal error. And there's no coming back from it. Just a few simple words. Guard it while I bathe. That's it. That is the sound of the lock on the fortress clicking open. For the very first time, the sage willingly hands over control of his vulnerability to the one person he's decided he can trust. In that moment, the con is complete. And you know what's so stunning? It's how fast the betrayal actually happens. After all that time, all that patient effort, the end is brutally efficient. The sage takes one step into the water, and the thief is gone. The long game paid off in a matter of seconds. So what's the takeaway from all this? The story offers a pretty clear lesson, right? a moral about the high price you can pay when you misplace your trust. It's definitely a cautionary tale. The moral of the story is laid out right here for us. Don't trust any strangers easily. It's a simple, straightforward warning. Be cautious. It almost seems to justify the sage's paranoia, suggesting that his only mistake was that one time he stopped being paranoid. But is it really that simple? And that's the question I want to leave you with. The story is absolutely warning us against blind trust, for sure. But isn't a life with no trust at all just another kind of foolishness? A life where you're a prisoner in a fortress you built yourself? Maybe the real wisdom isn't about building higher and higher walls. Maybe it's about getting better at seeing who's actually worthy of being invited inside.